Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back. Very excited to share this build with you guys. If you've been following my channel, you'll know that I've been building up a couple different two-wheel drive Prerunner trucks. This one happens to be the aluminum AliExpress version of the twin Ibeams kit that, it's a knockoff of the Proline kit. And if you've seen my other videos, you know I have a Proline build with an early Ford Bronco body on it, and I love that truck. So super excited to get out and test this truck. It's been kind of a long process getting this to where I want it, so I'm finally at the point where I want to share it with you guys and show you everything that I did to this thing. For starters, let's go over just the wheelbase on this, because that's been my biggest kind of struggle and challenge with these builds. My previous build with the early Ford Bronco body, I ended up doing a short course body, which made me go a lot wider, and I think I really love the way that thing handles, so I think that was the key in getting this thing to handle right. I tested this one out in particular before I chose this body. I went out and ran it with a different body in like what I would consider the standard configuration, which is like a 9-inch wide track width and like a 12.3 wheelbase. And you know what, like it did okay. It wasn't great. It rolled over quite a bit. I didn't have a long travel rear shock kit on it, which you can see this thing has crazy long travel now, and I'll go over that to show you guys what I did to achieve that. So overall, like my idea was to build it up stock and test it, and I did, and I didn't even really feel like I wanted to share it with you guys. It was just like, for the amount of time and money and, effort you put into a build like that, if you want to put it on a shelf and look at it, that's fine. It just didn't really drive great. So started chasing a different path, for building this, and ended up, I didn't want to duplicate the same as my other one as far as like the wheelbase and track width. So I was like, let me go a little bit wider and see what I can find. The hardest part about doing that was finding a body that would work, because all of your crawler based bodies and like the Proline Prerunner bodies, they're all meant for like a 9-inch track width. So unless you want to have the wheel sticking out, fine, which if you're into that look, that's cool too. I wasn't looking to do that. Hard to find a body that's like in between, right? So I was looking for something that's more like around that 10-inch wide mark, and this happened to fit perfectly. This is the Proline Bronco R body, and it fit perfectly. So this body, like fender to fender, is pretty much 10 inches, and believe it or not, that's very difficult to find in bodies that would look appropriate as a Prerunner. So found this one and decided to go with that, and I'll show you how I achieved that. This is running a 12.8 wheelbase, and you have a little bit of adjustability back here because of course this rear fender, it just kind of comes straight back. So again, the body is kind of what determined my setup with this, and we're going to see how well it works. I've driven this without the body on it in this configuration, and it worked really well, but then I went and added the spare tires and everything else. So we're going to see how this all works out. Hopefully I got the weight balance correct. But yeah, let me show you guys. I'll pull the body off here and show you guys what I did. Well, for starters here, you can see front bumper. I've been getting better at brazing. My brazing skills have improved. So this is all stainless steel tubing, and these are some Mias Racing light bars on here and here, and then I have the little Mias Racing pods on the hood. I think those came out really nice. And same deal, I'll give you a better look at the internals here, but I brazed up this stainless steel tubing to make a spare tire carrier on the back, and I have a little chase light. I'll link up the lights in this video. For anything else related to this build, I'm going to link up my previous video where I really covered everything in detail in terms of building the aluminum kit, because there are some differences from the Proline kit. If you build it according to the Proline directions, a lot of things don't work. You need to reconfigure the links and the servo and stuff. So there's a lot of good info in my previous video. I'll link that up down below. Same deal, I covered how I set up the wheels and tires and all that stuff. So I'll show you briefly what I have going on in here, the body off, and then we're gonna go out and run this thing. And then in the very near future, I want to finally get around to doing my Prerunner shootout video, where I'm gonna put this truck up against my Proline build, the early Ford Bronco, and then also put it up against and then also see how it compares to my Kyosho Outlaw Rampage Pro. So I'm gonna get all three trucks out. They all have the same livery, which I think is kind of cool. It was just the theme that I went with. I really love this green color. This is Spastic's Candy Apple Green with a silver backer. I loved it so much on the first one that I did all of them similar, and I kind of put together a little like race team livery here. So I'm gonna get all three out and do a little challenge and just see which one ends up working out best in terms of wheelbase. Of course, this is kind of like its own thing. These two, my other Bronco and this, are more similar, but we'll see how it compares, because this is a much easier build by far and ends up being cheaper too. So let's get in here and I'll show you guys this one. So real quick, for I hate how body pins look, but there really is not a great option. But I am running these little aluminum washers that I kind of drilled out to fit over here. Just protects the body and kind of gives it a little bit better look. But I haven't really found any great option that holds up well in terms of body mounts. All right, I have no lights connected here. Oop, there goes one of the washers. But here's the little chase light I have on the back. I'll link that up and I'll show you guys what the lights look like in a minute. So let's start with electronics real quick. Running this on 2S, and this is just a Surpass Hobby 3650 motor, 5200 kV. I do have an SSD transmission in here. It's a high ratio trans, 19 tooth pinion, and I'm gonna see what the top speed is, but I'm pretty happy with that. Just a regular Spectrum servo, nothing special there. Now here's the key to the whole kit, the double clutch long travel. So you get these shock towers here that allow you to run a 5-inch travel Proline Power Stroke shock, and it gives you a mount. These come all the way down to the outside of the chassis. It gives you a mount for your rear trailing arm. You can run different trailing arms based on your wheelbase. These are actually off of a 1/10 Baja Ray. So it gives me the wheelbase that I wanted to achieve, which is around the 12.8. And of course you have the whole aluminum Ibeams kit here, but I'm not gonna go too into detail on this. Check out my previous video if you wanna know all the details on that. You can see the bumper I brazed up here. Mounted the light bar on there, and then my rear spare tire carrier I have goes up here to the shock tower, so it kind of like just triangulates everything. Made a little, this is real aluminum diamond plate. RC 4-wheel drive sells it. Just got a little jack and fire extinguisher, and this is off a UDR. This is just like a fuel filler off a UDR. Little tire straps there. So yeah, pretty basic. Element Enduro off a Gatekeeper, actually. Element Gatekeeper sway bar. I don't have the stiffest. It comes with 3 different stiffness bars. This is, if I remember right, the middle one, I think. May need a stiffer one there. Up front, Proline ProSpec crawler, Proline ProSpec shocks, I believe. And I just have these kind of Amazon secondaries mounted up here. We're gonna see how all that works out. These are just some cheapy Amazon tires that have like a BF Goodrich mud terrain kind of clone look to them. Mias Racing wheels. Yeah, with a good amount of offset to get the width right. Baja Ray, 10 scale drive shaft in the back. These are just some Endura side plates here. They sell them for all 10 scale crawlers. So that pretty much is the short of it here, but definitely check out my other video if you want to see more info on that. We're looking at 9 pounds, 3 ounces complete with the 2S hard case in there. Let me show you guys what the lights look like here, and then we'll get out and rip it. I do still want to take this a step further. I don't like being able to see all the wires and everything else inside. I want to make a nice interior for this. I'll probably do like a roll cage inside out of the stainless tubing, or maybe aluminum tubing if I can figure out how to braze that. And then I already have some nice scale, 10 scale seats, race seats, and I'll do like a dashboard and stuff. I don't know. I got a work in progress. That's going to take some time, but I think that'll be the next step. Cut the windows out, do a little cross brace here, make it like a legit roll cage inside. I think that'd be super badass. So let me show you guys the lights and then we'll get out. All right, you guys can see the lights here. Super bright. I love the Mias Racing light bars. They're so nice. They come with really cool light controllers. I don't have anything set up on the front. I just have, you know, basically an on-off for that. But I may mess with the light controllers on the rest of them. And on the rear, the chase light does have like multiple modes where you can do all different colors and all different kind of effects and stuff. So it's cool. They're pretty inexpensive. You can see it's just kind of cycling through them now. But yeah, super cool. Get out and run this thing at night one time. I think it'll look really nice. Running a gyro on here too on my FlySky setup. So with 2-wheel drive, that definitely is a huge plus. Let me get you guys a good look here at this thing before I take it out. It's almost so nice. I almost don't even want to drive this thing. I've spent a lot of time working on this. You know, a lot of it was the bumper tire carrier combo, but yeah, really happy with the way this thing looks. But you know what? I don't have any shelf queens. That's not me. So I'm gonna get out and drive this thing. Okay, so enough talking. Let's see how this thing drives. I had a blast with this thing. Took it to 2 different locations. The first one here, you'll see just local outdoor track. Second one is my backyard track. It's a lot more just like regular loose dirt. This is really hard packed, dry, kind of beat up, but perfect spot to run a Prerunner. Had a lot of fun here with it. Really tested the suspension off a lot of these jumps, and it's definitely set up way too soft. When I initially did the suspension on here, I did not have the rear tires and carrier mounted to this, and I didn't have the front bumper on it. So I knew I would have to retune it. Decided to just come out and run it. I'm just running like 10 weight fluid in the rear shocks, and I honestly forget. I think 20 in both fronts. It's definitely way too soft, and the rear sway bar is way too soft as well. So luckily the Enduro Element sway bars come with 3 different stiffness sway bars. So I need to go, actually did already install it since filming this. So I'm gonna get out and test it again. Went up on the suspension fluid and put the stiffest sway bar in the rear, and I think it's going to help immensely. You can really see this thing rolling around and very loosey-goosey. It was kind of cool. It was fun to drive like that. It was really capable, more capable than I thought, but I think just some fine-tuning is really going to make this thing a lot more easier to drive. You really had to be careful in the turns on this. I did roll it more times than I wanted to, but luckily everything held up. So I noticed even after retuning it, and I had the same issue with my other Prerunner builds, so I think maybe it's kind of just par for the course with these builds, but you see you get a lot of front end bounce. Even after retuning the suspension, and I did a few slow motion drop tests, it's way better, but the rear suspension just soaks it up and lands perfectly smooth. And then the front, I still get this bounce like that, and I think it's really just the kind of imbalance between the front and the rear. The rear has way more travel than the front, and I think the front reaches its limitations quicker, and it's just bottoming out pretty harshly, and you get that kind of bounce. I think a lot of it too has to do with the tires. These tires are not vented. I think I'm gonna go in and try to vent the fronts just to give it a little bit more squish. And these tires are pretty firm. Like I mentioned, they're just some cheapies off Amazon, but they're a good size. They're 4.5s. They have a nice tread pattern. It is like a BF Goodrich KO2 clone, and they're pretty grippy. They're just a very kind of hard, rubbery compound. Not the worst, but they're very springy. The sidewalls are very thick, so they tend to have a lot of rebound in them. So I'm gonna try just venting the fronts and see how that works. The rears I think are pretty good as is, but we'll see. Maybe I end up venting all 4. Overall, I can't really complain much about how this truck handled. If it stayed like this forever, I could be completely happy. It was a lot of fun to get out and rip this thing, and a lot of that has to do with just how great, I mean, personally, I think this thing looks awesome. Love the way this turned out, and for me, that just adds to the overall experience of driving this thing. It's not the most capable truck in the world. I'm sure like a 2-wheel drive Slash could outrun this thing on the track, but man, it wouldn't look nearly as good doing it. Here's switched over to track on my backyard. Actually, I had my front body mounts came loose. Just it was the only 2 screws I forgot to put thread lock on, and they had come loose at the track. So kind of abandoned that and came home, recharged, put some new screws in, Loctite everything, went over a couple things, and came out and ripped it again. So this is still the original suspension setup. I'll have some more running videos soon with the new setup, and I think it's just going to work out a little bit better. Maybe, honestly, maybe quite a bit better. We'll see. But man, this thing just looks incredible. Really happy with the lighting on this thing. I think it came out extremely nice. I've also installed some limit straps on the rear suspension just to kind of keep the axle from dropping out quite as much. Not a ton, it's really just like a tiny bit, but I'm gonna be experimenting with that too. I don't think my other Bronco build, it could just be the way it looks. I think with these kind of straight cut rear fenders on this truck, it just looks like you get a crazy amount of down travel. But honestly, it should be the same as my other Bronco, but that's going to be the cool thing about getting out and running these trucks all together in a little head-to-head competition. We're going to see the differences and see what works better. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Does it look like this has way too much axle drop in the rear? I mean, it's working. I want to have the most suspension. I bet you guys thought I was going to jump that, and I ended up just crawling. I just kind of wanted to see how this thing worked going through the rocks. I think it looks cool. You can see the front bumper clearance is an issue there with that little stump, but I mean, just kind of seeing what the capabilities on this truck are. It looks badass going through rocks like that, seeing the I-beams move around and stuff. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys think. Like, does it look like here in particular, look how much that rear axle drops down. I mean, I want to get the most travel as possible, and it's at the limits of the up travel. It's pretty much upper link mounts are hitting the battery tray, barely, even with little rubber bump stops installed on the shocks. But ultimately, you know, I have the travel. I want to use it. So we'll see. I think that's all part of the suspension tuning. And luckily, I have this track now right in my backyard. I can make some changes and tweak things, come out, test it again. I want to continue building this track up when I get some more time, build a few little jumps. I want to have like a nice little whoop section, and it'll be great for testing and filming. But ultimately, I think bottom line is I had a blast driving this truck, and that is what it is all about. If it doesn't make you happy and you don't like driving it, then what's the point ultimately? So just some raw running video here, no slow-mo or anything, just so you guys get a good indication of what it's actually capable of and the speeds it can drive at. So I think just some more fine-tuning. I honestly think just a heavier sway bar is really going to kind of keep this thing more planted and let me rip it around a little bit harder. But yeah, it was great. I really had a lot of fun, and I'm so happy about that because the amount of hours I put into this thing, if it didn't drive well, I would really, you know, it would be like, not that it's a waste of time. Like I enjoy building them too, but I do love to get out and actually, you know, enjoy driving it. And happy with the way this turned out. So if you guys have any questions about this, hit me up in the comments. I will definitely be doing some more videos about just some tuning, and then going ahead and I'll show you guys at some point when I do the interior on this, I'll show you how I'm doing it in terms of brazing. It's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So maybe if you guys are interested in doing that, making some custom bumpers and stuff, it'll be cool. So thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one. Later.